Hello and welcome to part 2 of the work in progress for To Fight Another Day. I've been mainly working on the cloud since the first update, so if you come and have a look, you can see really that it's I've just been building up the clouds at the bottom of the picture, and I raised the horizon, although I think actually the horizon could go up a little bit more yet, but I'll see after I put everything in. And now I'm working on the aircraft. Now, if you remember from the first update, the aircraft was blocked in, so a block of green, a block of brown, block of green, etc, etc. What we're doing now is putting in some highlights and some shadows on it, really, just to try and bring in a more metallic feel to the fuselage. So if you have a look closely, you see this dab of blue that's come into the cockpit there. That's a blue wash that I put over the top of the fuselage. Now that gives the impression that the top of the fuselage is reflecting the dark of the sky. And you see this highlight here, this is like a light blue highlight. That gives the impression that the fuselage is metallic and it's reflecting the light from the clouds. What I'll just do, I'll just overemphasize that a little bit, just to kind of show you the effect that I'm after. It's again very rough at the moment, just to show you the effect and what it's trying to achieve, really. So that will be a reflection of the clouds down here, and if you look underneath the wings, if these wings are very flat, and they will reflect a lot of light. Imagine they're a mirror, that you would see the total reflection of this oil cooler and the radiators. And so that's what I've tried to roughly sketch in, these reflections here. So again, the idea is to lighten the wing around where that reflection would be, and you get the effect of metallic surfaces, really. That's kind of the general idea. So I'm working on that at the moment. Right, I've put this this highlight on. It's like a secondary highlight down the side of the fuselage, and it's like a bluey grey. Now, at the moment, as my daughter points out, it looks like it's smoke. Now, the reason it looks like that is because not only is it lightening the dark bits, but it's also darkening the light bits. Now that obviously isn't correct. So what you have to do to achieve the effect of it being a highlight is to actually make the lighter bits even lighter, because it's a highlight. So I know that might sound obvious, but I've seen some artists, they don't do it, and it really stands out. If you make like a bomber fuselage which is black, like a light grey or even an orange if it's lit by fire, then you've got to lighten everything else, like the roundels and things like that. And so I've seen some artists, so they keep the roundels dark, which just looks, well, weird, to be honest. So what you have to do is to lighten the light bits in the area where the highlight is. The dark bits are already lighter because obviously you put this wash on, but the light bits you really need to make lighter. So these grey coats really need, in the area of the highlight, to be a little bit lighter. So just blend it in. As usual, everything's very rough. I tend to sketch these things in, and then at the end you tighten up the detail, but that's kind of roughly what we're after. That'll dry a little bit darker because it's acrylic. And then the yellow of the roundel, nothing too strong, so Naples yellow is a good one, and because this is like a blue reflection, so it doesn't need to be too rich. And just whack that in there. As far as the highlight goes, bit better. Okay, just do that G again, because the G, you see it's dried quite dark already, so there we go. Right, okay. So now, hopefully, you can see the effect. It actually now is starting to look like a highlight as opposed to a bit of smoke. Okay, so I think we're at the end of stage 2. If you have a look now, what I've done is I've detailed the Spitfire to about 80% finished. So I've put in the ailerons and the flaps and the radiators and the bits and pieces, a few panel lines, a bit of stenciling and so on and so on, and I've tidied up the squadron codes, roundels, etc. It's not completely finished, but it's more focused now. Now the thing is, once the aircraft is focused, then it gives the picture a different, different focus. You know, your eye looks at that rather than the background. So then you have to start looking at the background and thinking, well, how is this going to work with that? So what I've been doing since I finished that is I've made this area down here darker and built this cloud up a little bit and made this area darker and this, because really to give an impression of light you really need contrast. So I think effectively what I need to do is to darken this bottom area quite a bit and lighten this area here. You see I've lightened behind the fuselage and lightened here to make this wing stand out a little bit. I might even need to put a bit of darkness in the background here to make the flames in the cockpit appear bright. So I've got to work on that. But anyway, so really what I've got to do now is to work on the clouds and try and get the clouds pretty finished. And then it's time to put all the other airplanes in, which will bring it to life, because they will give it depth, they will give it movement and so on. And then I think the last thing I'll do is to put the pilot in, who's going to be bailing out of the Spitfire. So quite a bit to do yet. Not quite sure if I'm going to meet the Friday deadline. But yeah, it's coming along. So that's the end of stage 2. I'll post another update in a few days, and we'll see how it's going.